Well, good afternoon, everybody. I would certainly like for you just to give me a thumbs up on your screen if everyone can hear, and we'll just keep moving on. And if you can't, then I'll be able to figure out as we go. I'd like to say good afternoon, and I certainly welcome you to Rose State College's webinar called Up Close and Connected, Stepping Forward with Courage. Now, I'm Tamara Pratt, the Vice President of External Affairs here at the college. In coordination with the Rose State Foundation, we're bringing you this inspirational hour powered by the Junior Service League of Midwest City. Now, it is no coincidence that we chose the week before Valentine's Day to host this particular webinar because, well, let's face it, we've all lost connections over the last year due to the pandemic, and we might need a kickstart to get back on track. Well, you are in for a great treat today, as Linda Clark is a performance strategist and an amazing facilitator. She also happens to be an adjunct professor at Colleague College UCO. She is going to give us an opportunity to really examine our intentions in 2021 and walk away with a roadmap that we can all put to work immediately. So Linda, welcome, and let's get connected.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me. Jim and I have done a tech check, but that doesn't mean it'll work perfectly from the get-go, but I'm going to work on sharing my screen real quick, and we're going to roll because, y'all, this is a really fast-paced hour. You should probably grab a sheet of paper, your favorite notebook, a Rocket Book if you're a Rocket Book fan, but all I want from you is a grid with places for 5 things on the left and 4 things across the top, and it'll all make sense at the end of the hour. What you'll also find is that when we're done, I'm going to download these slides, including your responses, and I'll send it out to the Rose State team, and they'll send it to you. So you'll be able to capture all this and not have to worry about, what did she say? So then the next thing we're going to do is use Menti. If you've not used Menti before, it's a way to interact with the screen anonymously. So what happens is you'll see right here at the top of my screen, it says go to menti.com and put in this room code. So on your phone, on your computer browser window, just do that real quick. When you get in, down here at the bottom, just click the heart to let me know you're in. So what does this mean? You're not downloading anything, right? If you're using a work phone, we don't want your IT department to be upset about security. You're just going to a website. You're not giving me your phone number. You're not giving me your email. You're just going to interact with the screen. So in Zoom, that means you can reduce your Zoom as small as possible. You can turn off your video if you want to save bandwidth, and you can mute and know that I'm not going to ask you to unmute. So I'm not saying don't participate. I'm saying you're going to participate this way. So you see the heart starting to come in at the bottom? Let's finish our little Menti lesson. The little bubble with the 3 dots is that you can comment on any slide, just like if we were in the room and you went, oh, that's so cool. The comments will pop up and then they'll go away. They're not saved. If you have a question at any point, click this right hand with the 2 square boxes. You'll put in your question, and then as I find a break or a stopping spot, I can pull those up and answer them. So that's how we're going to work today. I'm going to make sure my timer's set so that at 1 o'clock, I'm not still running my mouth and you're all going, hey, we have to go now. So let's dig in. When Tamara first called, we talked about this up close and connected and stepping forward. Stepping forward doesn't mean that we pretend 2020 didn't happen, but it also means we stop acting surprised by change. February 2021 is different than February of 2020, is different than February of 1990, is different than February of 1950, is different than February of 1880. We are known for surviving and adapting. So we really wanted this to be time for you to step into. I want you to think about getting to the dining table right now to your very favorite meal with your very favorite people, where you feel most safe and most secure. And that's how I want you to spend the next hour. I don't want you to think about how you'll help your family with this, how you'll grow at work with this, how you'll help other people with this. I want you to get some food, to get some recharge, to dream a little bit. We've all been in action bias and new policies and new strategies, and I've written a policy on a Wednesday that was no good by Monday. So just throw in here your focus word or phrase for 2021. This is also making sure you're comfortable with the Menti platform. Why would you use Menti while I'm letting you throw these in real quick? I used Menti before we were virtual. When I had a team in the room and I had to ask tough questions like, do we live up to our values? People in the room are not going to raise their hand and go, no, sure don't. Let me give you some suggestions. People in the room go, I'm not saying that in front of finance. I'm not saying that in front of HR. I'm not saying that in front of my boss. So have Menti on the screen behind you. Menti has free versions. So if you love it, play with it. Do I use a pro version? Yes. So look at these focus words: forward, seeking, optimistic, live. You don't have to have one. You certainly don't have to build a giant vision board, but it can help. A client said to me as she started this year, a coaching client, and effectively we're doing a group coaching now, right? Facilitated group coaching. And I said, tell me about how you renew, because we just keep changing the goals and working together. And this is what she said. And I said, can I please use that? Because not only she realized finally in 2020 that goal setting is not, here's my personal goal. I'm going to be a better wife, better mom, keep my house better, take up crochet. Here's my professional goal. She finally realized all the pieces fit together. So how her mind is doing matters. How her heart is doing matters. So she said, I'm a better partner. I'm a better human. This is for the betterment of my soul, my mind, and moving forward. And I really hope at 1 o'clock you feel like you've taken a deep breath. So we're going to take it further. Some of you on the call, I know your names and you know me, right? There's not going to be a PowerPoint with a bunch of serious bullets. We're going to have an active process with an outcome, and we're going to have some fun. So I'm going to invite all of you to step into Alice in Wonderland with me. I use Alice in Wonderland a lot in my own journey. There's some great metaphors. So many of us spent 2020 feeling like the white rabbit. I don't know about you, but I'm late for a very important date. And, can't even say goodbye, hello, I'm late. So that was one of my favorite songs when I was little. It's an example of action bias. We don't even know the problem we're trying to solve. We're just like checking the list and moving forward and check the list. We start feeling tense. We start not even knowing where we're going. We're so deep in our task list that we can't look up. So for an hour, I want you to be Alice. I want you to be Alice and come into Wonderland with me. I want you to be a little whimsical. If you're that person on the phone and you're rational and you're analytical and logical, set it down for just a little bit and pick up a little bit of whimsy and imagination. If you're all whimsy and imagination, pick up some logic and rational thought. So as we set these goals, you have a little bit of both. But sometimes what changes us is when we look up and we go, what do I want? Not what do I need? Or what's over there? Not what's right here. So I'm going to encourage you to be in Wonderland with me and let these characters talk to us. So I told you on your sheet of paper, 5 things on the left, just a vertical column of these 5 things. You're going to end up making a grid. So Alice said, it's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. So when people go, well, I want it to be like it used to be, it won't be. Today won't be like yesterday. Today won't be like last week. So when we start going, okay, what is today then? We can be a little more mindful. So the first of the 5 things on the left is, what's your purpose? I want to give you a moment there. And if you don't know, that's a question for this year, right? I'll give you an example. When people said to me, hey, Linda, what do you do? I would give them my resume, right? Oh, I publicly speak. I'm a professor at UCO. I do this, I coach. I'm super happy. But that's not my purpose. It took me time of going, what do I do? To come to what I do is liberate curiosity and confidence in my whole world. I do it by always encouraging my family. I do it by giving real feedback when people ask for it. I do it by speaking publicly. I do it by openly talking about that I also am on the autism spectrum and I have ADHD, right? So I normalize conversations around mental health. But what my purpose is liberating curiosity and confidence. What are your values? Your business values? Do you live up to them? Your personal values? Are you sleeping okay at night? Or do you want to work on that? Who are you advocating for? How are you using your voice? You know, my job moving through the world as a cisgendered white woman with some financial privilege, age privilege, I better be using that to advocate for people that may not have as much of a voice. I better be using that to make space for new speakers, new coaches, new presenters. How am I helping people learn HR, which is my field, right? Am I opening the door to them? How are you serving in your life? Do you want to serve more? Do you want to serve less? Some of you might need to go, hey, I'm on 6 boards, maybe 5 would be better. Sometimes service is saying no more often. Sometimes it's saying yes more often. And then how do you serve your community? It could just be like, hey, I'm busy right now. How I serve my community is by just being a good citizen and participating. Maybe you say, you know what? I support small business. That's how I serve my community. But these are the inspirational questions we want to be answering instead of just going, what's a goal? I want to know how you get there and how it makes you happy. Second one is your mind. How are you feeding your mind this year? And remember, I have built this specifically. So when you get the PDF and you want to take your team through it, go for it, right? Or we'll do an hour with your team. But I want you to be able to recreate this. What are you feeding your mind? What are you reading? Including, ask yourself if you have a stack of guilt books, right? I have a stack of guilt books in my office. These are the books that everyone puts on LinkedIn that I know I should be reading. And sometimes they're not interesting. Sometimes there's another book that I would find to be better. Sometimes there's a new author. I could go read their stuff. I've committed this year to reading more fiction, that everything doesn't have to be a learning professional moment. Because guess what? Learn from Alice in Wonderland. My imagination growing drives innovation. My daydreaming and wandering and mind mapping drives new products. What do you want to learn? I didn't ask you what you need to learn. I didn't ask you what someone else wants you to learn. You know, hey, you should get your bachelor's degree or your master's degree or whatever should. That's what I'm asking you about. What do you want to learn? So what do you want to develop? So instead of saying, I want to get a promotion, what do you need to develop in order to be ready for that promotion? Do you need to work on some hotspots? Hotspots to me are things I know, right? Like this big personality that talks about Alice in Wonderland and gets excited. Well, when I'm mad, it's a pretty big personality still. So I always have to be aware that lack of composure can be a hotspot. A blind spot, you don't know it's there. Maybe that's a conversation with your spouse. Maybe that's a conversation with like a work spouse, those people we spend the most time with. Maybe it's make yourself a little feedback survey of 5 or 6 questions and send it out to 10 friends you trust and get those blind spots out in the open and start working on them. What do you dream about? And I'm going to ask you that in a minute, right? Not about what do you dream about for your children or what do you dream about for what do you dream about? A business, a blog, a book, having 5 minutes alone if you have children at home and you've been locked up together for months. So when you think about your mind, what are you putting into it? What are you surrounding it with this year? This could mean don't be on Facebook as much or unfollow the people that are just negative and maybe you need to move into a place of hope. Third one is connection. How do you want to connect as you move into 2021? Is there someone you need to reconnect with? Did a conversation go badly that maybe you need to circle back on? Are you not good at certain types of communication? Right? I'm your friend that'll say, yes, we'll go to coffee. And then the day of coffee, autism and ADHD will be like, we're not going to coffee at all. We're not going out in public. So I have to think about that, right? So I connect by being honest and going, hey, this could happen. 95% of the time it doesn't, but it could. How are you going to create belonging in your world? Do you belong in your circles? Do you belong? Do you feel connected? Not fitting in. Fitting in is wearing things that don't fit you, right? Fitting in is saying, I can't say that, I won't fit in. Fitting in is things like code switching when we ask people to talk differently in order to be more professional. I'm really committed to creating belonging, but I'm also committed to feeling belonging. I'm not going to be in spaces where I'm not welcome. Brene Brown says, don't ever look for ways you don't belong because you will always find them. And if you look for ways you do belong, you can also find that. Inclusion, intention. How are you moving through the world? For instance, at the beginning of this hour, I said, put everything down for just an hour. Just an hour. Come to the dining table and feed yourself. Get recharged. And then go help others. Go do everything you want to do. But I asked for an hour for connection. So then this fourth one is the spirit. I don't know how you move through the world. You could be, your spirit might be religious to you. Your spirit might be a sense of oneness with the universe. Your spirit might just be how your heart feels on any given day. But this is where we think about, where do we want to expand our spirit, right? So for instance, with me for years, I have known that faith has been a part of my success, but I was very well groomed to never mention like faith and work. And that is possible for that to go together and not be intrusive, illegal, uncomfortable. You can say, I feel at work. You don't always have to say, I think, right? Over here on the left, your mind is like, I think. But your spirit is the one going, I feel. I feel we might be leaving people out. I feel like we could say this in a different way. I feel like we're using language that could be problematic. Spirit is where your imagination lives. And then ritual and practice. What works for you? Does coffee in the morning work for you? Does grabbing your cell phone the minute your eyes open work for you? Because it may not. I've recently really committed to not looking at my email or anything within 30 minutes of becoming conscious. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think other people are even better at it than I am. But it's really given me an opportunity to be present and mindful in the mornings and wake up and say hello to the dog and say hello to my partner and, get to work. So when you think about these four bubbles, where's your focus? And then the last one is the vessel. And I didn't use this term until recently. And it's from a client, and I got permission from them because they hated the phrase self-care. And feel free to jump in Zoom chat and just type yes if you're one of those people that when someone says, how's your self-care? You're like, leave me alone. I'm not going to yoga because I'm busy. So just put a yes. And Jim, if you'll tell me how many yeses pop up in a second, that would be awesome. Because I have felt that way. Like, I can't go to yoga. I'm too busy. I can't meditate. I don't have time for that. I can't get off the phone. And finally, she said, it is my job to care for the vessel that contains my experience. And I went, well, wait, that's really different than just go to yoga. That means that I can't tell this vessel, it's dumb, it's not enough. Nobody wants to hear this. I'm clear. Everyone won't like me, and that's okay. I'm clear that every minute of this hour isn't relevant to every one of you, but I know that some minutes in this hour are absolutely relevant to each of you. So that vessel has really been a game changer for me about working out or eating. And it became less about what's on the scale or what size jeans am I wearing, and really became about, am I rested enough to focus on this today? Have I taken a moment to gather myself before I get on your webinar so that I am 100% with you for an hour? I'm not thinking about everything else. So those are your 5 things on the left, and we're continuing to go. So you're in Minty for a second. This gives me a second to grab a sip of water. In Minty, what I want you to tell me is, of the 5, where's your big focus and priority this year? And put it on your notes too, right? Visibility for all of them. But for instance, last year, I spent a lot of time on figuring out my purpose. I lost 118 pounds. So I really focused on my body and Alicia, you're so funny. I can see your face. You're like, oh my God. I had surgery after years of fighting my weight, but surgery is not an easy out either. So purpose and vessel was a big deal for me last year. This year is very much connection and mind for me, as I have been accepted into my doctoral studies and will begin in April. So that's my mind this year. And then I'm really working on connecting in my community by doing stuff like this. So I'm going to leave y'all in Minty for a second. I'm going to check the 2 questions that have popped up. Someone put in that freedom was something they wanted. Let me mark that one as answered, and courage, marking that one as answered. Look at what's going on in here. So focus and priority. So some of you are feeling like, okay, I'm good on purpose. And now 3 of you are like, oh, I'm going to focus on that. Look at this. 7 of you in the room are like, wait, I need to think about how I'm feeding my mind. What am I learning? How am I developing? Right? Like those webinars you sign up for and then don't go to. Right? I'll listen to the recording later. Y'all know we are not going to do that, don't you? Because we're busy. When the recording comes in, we're like, I don't have time for that because I have another webinar. Connection. I think a lot of us worked on connection last year. I think an amazing skill set developed out of necessity, that we connect virtually sometimes. We connect through, sometimes I have friends now using snail mail and opening that and getting that envelope with their handwriting. Amazing. A lot of you in here are like, whoa, working on my spirit. Our spirits did a lot for us last year. They need some fuel, right? They need to be brought forward and go, yeah, I can also work on this heart thing while I'm working on the mind and the body and everybody else. And then some of you are like, oh, the vessel. Great work. So now I said 4 things across the top. So create yourself a little matrix. This is just to help you gather your thoughts. So these 4 words are basically my business values that we're walking us through. So they are adventure, vibrancy, exploration, and challenge. If you're making your grid, this is going to frame your forward thinking without feeling like, here's your goal. What are you going to do to get there? So we see that picture of if you remember when Alice goes into Wonderland and she's like, well, how do I get bigger? Because she drank the potion that made her really small. And there's a cake that says, eat me. And she's like, okay. And then she gets gigantic, right? She fills the room and her hand sticks out of the chimney and her foot sticks out of the door. I want you to think of adventure with this phrase. Adventure is new, right? Where we understand the risk of a new hobby, the risk of asking for a promotion, the risk of asking that special person to marry you, the risk of raising children. Also comes with uncertainty. Perfectionists in the room, that's a hard word for you. You don't like uncertainty. You're like, I'm happy to play. I just want to be the very best the first time I do it. Thanks. And it doesn't work that way. But apprehension is also a sign of adventure. I took up whitewater kayaking last year. I love whitewater rafting. So I thought, what would make it better? Oh, I'll get in a much smaller boat by myself. This is a great idea. And when you stare at that water, the river's beautiful and it's like, hey, come play. But it also is like, hey, I could knock you over. I could drown you. You want to come play? So my job is to kind of assess the discomfort of the change. Maybe the river's new to me. Maybe that level of rapids is a scale up for me. But the comfort of the known is I have done my training. I have been to my safety classes. I practice a lot. So like, okay, I'm going to try this. So as you think about adventure, I want you to imagine the Cheshire Cat appearing in the room with you, the big pink and purple striped Cheshire Cat. There's a moment where Alice is lost in Wonderland. And she says, can you help me figure out where to go? And the Cheshire Cat's like, yeah, sure. Where do you want to go? And she says, well, I don't know. And he goes, well, then any road will get you there. So that's at once super expansive and fun. And in the next breath, it's a little scary. So what does adventure mean? Grounded confidence is a term from Dare to Lead. It means, do you have the rumbling skills? And if you've not done Dare to Lead, rumbling is just having tough conversations. So here, do you have the skill, right? Are you prepared? Have you done your homework? And are you curious about where you're going? And then have you practiced? The only way you'll get better at adventure is to try. If you want to learn to knit, get on YouTube, find knitting. If you want to start that path to fitness, Don't go, I have to go to the gym 7 days a week for an hour a day. It's not going to happen. Start with, I'll go to Lake Hefner once a week and walk. Great. That's a start. Like that's the path, right? But if you have no idea, any path will work. The scenic route, there's a Rodney Atkins country song that I love, and a line in it says, get lost and get right with my soul. If you don't explore what you want, you can end up on a path that other people prescribe for you. And that's not a success signature. You know, when I went to college, I majored in something that made my mom happy. Didn't use it 1 minute in my life. I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare business administration. I have not worked in healthcare 10 minutes. Now, business admin served me. Going to college served me. Learning discipline served me. But that bachelor's degree, and now I'm working on a doctorate in values-driven leadership. So that's my scenic route, right? Non-traditional student. I quit undergrad in the middle of it, sophomore year, and I stayed gone for 10 years and then came back and had to write the check. Got a lot more focused when my mother wasn't writing the check and I was, right? Exploring want and need. Most of us can remember being little, like 3, 4, 5 years old, when you grab that little Snickers bar at the cash register and your little fat fist and you hold it up and you're like, hey, I want some candy. And your mother goes, or your guardian, your person kind of there with you goes, do you want it or do you need it? And that's where the lesson begins, that what we want isn't good enough, that it has to be need. We have to justify it. The right school, the right major, the right spouse, the right neighborhood, the right house, the right car. Like I know people that have car payments that are almost as much as my mortgage. And when I go, tell me how cool that car is. And they're like, well, you know, didn't want my neighbors to think I wasn't doing well. And I'm like, I don't care what my neighbors think when I'm going to write a 4-digit check. So exploring want and need, how can you start doing that? The last 2 minutes before you go to bed. I mean, the doors are locked, kids are in bed, dog has his blanket, you're getting ready to turn off the light, you are done. I want you to set a timer for 2 minutes. Grab a notepad that lives by your bed and say, what do I want? And stream of consciousness for 2 minutes. You do not get to say, if your brain goes, I want to go to Greece, you can't go, brain, don't you know it's COVID? We can't travel. Because what we teach our brain is to not brainstorm with us. It goes, oh, okay, my bad. I thought you were serious. When you get good at 2 minutes, take it to 5. And I bet you'll be shocked at what you start finding when your brain starts believing that you really do want to know what you want. It'll start serving amazing things. Like you might want to learn to do macrame. You might want to pick up painting and you haven't touched a canvas in 15 years. You might want to start a little cooking blog. You might want to start doing LinkedIn lives and sharing some of your leadership knowledge. But you have to take your brain out of this justifying that we've learned over the years. Why do you want to live in that neighborhood? Well, you know, it's a good school district and that's a smart decision, but do you want to live in that particular neighborhood? Does it give you what you need? Small boxes are for gifts. This is a good way to write something on your monitor that no one will know what it means. It means you do not get in the box that people give you. Do not get in the box and be small. Do not get in the box and behave. Stand outside the box and go, nope, this is who I am. Now, it doesn't mean don't be open to coaching and learning and development. I think you know that's not what I'm saying. But it does mean the people that told me I'd be a better HR person if I wore a matching black suit, because people would take me seriously then, that's trash advice. Black suits make me uncomfortable. They make me claustrophobic. They make me less of a leader because all I can think about is, but this is a jacket. This is a suit jacket. And it's soft and it's comfortable and it's me. And it's still professional. So I want you to think about, make yourself some notes real quick. Where do you want to adventure? And then I want you to grab that phone or that browser window and tell me a dream, because it's anonymous. So don't just go, I want to be a better listener. Like, what do you dream about? Put these out into the open. I believe, you know, just in faith and energy and purpose and magic and imagining, all of it, that giving voice to it matters. Giving voice to it here where nobody will know. You can say, like career change, someone said. You can say, I want to leave Oklahoma. You can say, can't wait for my kids to move out and I'm going to buy a cabin at the lake. But this is the beginning of teaching you that it's okay to say, this is what I want. And you don't have to justify it to a soul on the planet. You do have to get a plan for getting it. So I'm giving you a second here. I'm going to check our time. We are doing well on time. Remember, when you get this back, all of these answers will be there that just won't have names or anything attached. So you might be able to look at these and go, you know what? I want to travel again, and I'm going to be ready. And where am I going to go? And start expanding that. Move to Florida. Woo, if that was you, send me a note. I'm a Florida native. I can help you out on, what part and all of that. Look at laughter, happiness. You can have those now. Vacation soon. Home. To travel. Y'all are just ready to be done in the house. Work on that I want exercise. If there's a person that you go to sleep with at night, do it together, right? If there's your best friend, do it with them. Do it with your children. Teach them it's okay to want. Unteach the need that only what you need is good and valuable. Great work in Minty. Career adjustment, where advice is appreciated. Travel and be an advocate for my Native American tribe. That ambassadorship, what a form of purpose, what a form of connection, right? What a form of, the spiritual. So what an amazing dream that fits into most of those areas. Live on South Padre. So, because I grew up in Florida, South Padre is like, oh yeah, that's a beach. And then other people love it, right? Great work here in Minty, staying engaged. Second word, vibrancy. As we travel through Wonderland, there's a moment where the servants, the staff are painting the white roses red, right? They're out there frantically. They're like, the Red Queen's coming. We got to paint the roses red. She's going to flip out at the white roses. And that is exactly how I feel I spent most of my 30s, right? Trying to tone down this big personality, undiagnosed for ADHD and autism. So I didn't know why I couldn't sit still for 4 hours in a board meeting. And I was like, ugh. So I was trying to paint myself red and fit in. I wasn't belonging, I was fitting. I thought people only wanted me to be smart. So I tried to keep this sense of humor under control. There's zero chance I would have written content in the 30s to present professionally that involved a fairy tale. And now I know that storytelling is how we learn. Now I know I'm okay with it. So are you using the vibrancy of your voice in the world, your privilege, your power, your creativity? Are you using your curiosity? Have you put your curiosity to sleep and told it to behave so long that you're not even sure if it's there anymore? It's there. Like the minute you open that box and go, hey, come back and play, it's going to be like, yes. To speak your dreams into existence and act as a focus guide for others, guiding your children, supporting your spouse, teaching, being on nonprofit boards, how you move through the world as a leader. And I tend to use the word leader in the Dare to Lead definition, which is a human that recognizes the potential in others and commits to getting them there. It has nothing to do with what your business card says. Like when I say I don't have children, it doesn't mean I haven't mothered and nurtured, right? I just do it in different ways. So when you think about your vibrancy, this is the Cheshire Cat again. Now, this book is very old, and most of us know now that we don't want to move through the world saying things like, I'm not crazy, you're not, like crazy is that word we're trying to unlearn. We're actually unlearning a lot of words right now. For me, with 20-something years in HR, we love to say grandfathered in, right? Hey, here's a new policy, takes effect January 1st, but don't worry because you're here already, you're grandfathered in. Do you know, I only learned in the last maybe month and a half that that term has its roots in Jim Crow laws and systemic racism. And I'm having to unlearn it. Peanut gallery is another one I hear and like, nope. So when I use it here, vibrancy is about me saying, this is what I'm working on. I'm okay knowing I need to fix this. I'm okay sharing with you that I didn't actually come forth into the world on October 27th of 1967, knowing all this already, fully vibrant and in my power. It's taken 53 years. So the Cheshire Cat said, I'm not strange, weird, off, or crazy. My reality is just different. So your questions there for your notes, for what you're putting down for going forward is, are you painting a rose for yourself? Are you hiding a part of you? Are you playing small? Are you being good? Are you passing that on? Right? Are you teaching other people to paint the rose instead of, you know what, that's a beautiful rose? What is your purpose, right? That first bullet point on the left goes with vibrancy. What is your purpose? Think about and make yourself a note right now. When do you feel most yourself, most vibrant, most alive, most belonging? For some of you, it might be at work. For some of you, it might be that moment when a project finishes. For some of you, it might be when you stood in front of an amazing waterfall and just realized how tiny we are. For some of you, it could be watching that baby walk across the room for the first time and knowing that you're going to shepherd this little person's experience. I want you to find that moment so that you can learn how to recreate it and expand it, because that is where you're gloriously powerful and individual and doing what you're on the planet to do. And you're not trying to be me or Jim or Tamara or your mom or your neighbor. How do you stand for the vibrancy of others? Right? Down to things like writing a dress code. Like sometimes dress codes get super privileged. You want everyone to wear an outfit they can't afford to wear. You're saying hairstyles aren't professional that are racially or ethnically completely professional. They're just different from yours. So a dress code is a small example. Bigger example, do you allow junior employees to come to a board meeting and kind of teach them, like, you're not here to present, you don't have to be nervous, no one's calling on you, just wanted you to see what it looks like. Maybe they go to the part of it where you just talk about last quarter and they leave for the strategy part. We don't have to make these opportunities to open the door, send the elevator back down. It doesn't have to be hard. So think about, how are you standing for the vibrancy of others? What are you learning about with people that may live their life differently than yours? Do you understand gender fluidity and gender nonconforming individuals? Do you understand the power of saying, cisgendered, my gender identity agrees with what the doctor said 53 years ago. Transgender, your gender identity disagrees with what you might have been assigned at birth. So when I say cisgender, that's very different than me going, well, I'm the majority and you're transgender. Do you understand the use of the term they, them, instead of she, her, or he, him? Because I use they, them pronouns and she, her. And people routinely tell me it makes them feel more comfortable to know that I'm aware of that and willing. So belonging versus fitting in. So hopefully you're scribbling madly. Jump into Minty and tell me what you want to leave as a legacy. If we're at your funeral and we're talking over you, I don't want them to go, Linda could build a hell of a PowerPoint in 2 seconds or less. I want them to go, Linda cared so much. That's what the legacy. And I had to shift who I am as a professional to meet that legacy. Because who I was 12, 15 years ago had nothing to do with care. Like, I cared, and I thought the deliverable was more important. The outcome was more important. The I'm sorry you're tired and we're still doing it was more important. Now I know more important is sometimes like, you're scared? Me too. Tell me about it. Oh, you're fine? I don't think that's true. Why don't you tell me what's really going on? That's far more of a legacy for me than got a 5 on her performance eval 3 times in a row. So make sure that you're in Minty so that we're participating, but also if you're busy scribbling notes because your heart's kind of open right now, yay. So good work here, because I'm going to keep going just because we're fighting time today, right? Servantly, I made people laugh. That is real, right? Neuroscience is showing us, like, when we laugh, the good hormones are released. They balance some of those stress hormones. They help our nervous system calm down. When you make people laugh, it's not like, oh, you're not doing real work because you made them laugh. You are serving people with their vessel, getting to laugh and calm down, with their connection, knowing that you're in it with them, easing their mind that everything doesn't have to be a ball of stress. People think I added value to their life. Encourager, authentic. Dad made sure we had what we needed to succeed. So, you know, all of these things, I want you thinking about legacy. If you thought about your legacy every morning just for 5 minutes and then worked on that task list the rest of the time, it would change your perspective. So think about where you might put a note up. So how will you be more authentic this year? Really quick, either in your notes, I don't care if you put it here, I'd rather you put it here so I can see. How will you be more authentic? How will you drive your vibrancy? For some people, it could just be, you know what, I'm gonna let that natural gray and silver come in. I'm done covering it up. For me, one of the things that was a big moment of authenticity was after being diagnosed, right? I still hid it, right? I'm not gonna tell people autism, you can't say that. It was very freeing for me once I said it. And I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me after events and said, me too. There's some great research now studying how many successful leaders in good cultures are also neurodivergent and how we serve. So look at what we're seeing here, honesty. A thing that might help you if you put honesty is to remember clear is kind. Another quote from Dare to Lead. Unclear is unkind. Nice is sometimes the most hateful thing you can do to someone. No, I'm sure your work was fine. I wouldn't worry about it. Big pageant smile. And you're like, that was a hot mess. That's not nice at all that you know it was a hot mess, but you're not telling them. That's deeply unkind. So letting go of nice can be a path to authenticity. So kindness, directness, not settling for mediocre. Good. And if that's you, I will tell you, you can email me any point during the year and go, hey, I need a resource, and I will give it to you. Now, if you call me for 3 hours, I will also send you a bill, right? Because that's boundaries. But call me, connect with me on LinkedIn, send me an email. Let me know how I can help you get here. Not put myself in the box. So for you, if that was you, you probably need to print out that adventure slide and keep it in front of you to remind yourself, you know, small boxes are for gifts, not for you. And let yourself out. Also, be accountable to someone about what you're thinking right now. So we know and we can go, hey, don't shrink. Are you shrinking? Okay, come into this conversation. Whoever said it was a tough one, good. That means you get to work on it, right? Because you got 1.5 feet of snow coming this weekend. Plenty of time to think in front of a fire with your socks on and a blanket. I want you to leave here and explore. This is not a webinar to hang up and just walk away from. It was designed to put you in this space. Say no more often. Good for you. But just be, you know, some people said yes to the point because we told you to, right? We trained you. If you want to grow and promote, say yes to everything. If you want to be a good community citizen, say yes to your opportunities. And we forgot how to say no human is equipped to hold 52 plates in the air, and they will drop them eventually. And how will we sustain them when they fail? Be more honest with your shortcomings. You'll be amazed at what happens when you tell people what you're not good at. And then you let them shine in those areas. And then everybody gets to be a champion at what they're good at. Third word is exploration. So exploration is different than adventure in my book. Adventure is, what are you adding? What is new? What's a new habit? Even if it's a habit of saying no, it's a new habit. What's a new hobby? Exploration is, what do you have now that you will expand? So, and this is where we're looking at, maybe there's bias you need to work on. Maybe you're taking your experience and projecting it onto others when we say things like, well, if you just work hard, that's not always enough. People are working hard and they still can't get out of systems of oppression that have been designed to keep them there. So let's explore, how are our biases moving through the world? How are our beliefs shaping what we do? Like, I have deep beliefs of not being enough because I was raised by a very loving perfectionist. I adore her, right? I'm still lucky to have my mother at 78. She CrossFits, right? She's fit, she's healthy, she's an amazing inspiration, and she's a perfectionist. So if you get a 98, she'll be like, what do you think you can do to improve? That teaches us that a 98 is not actually a high A. That teaches us that an A that we have said is outstanding doesn't actually count. That a B exceeds expectations is also worthless. That a C, where the majority of the curve falls and says meets expectations, isn't good enough. So we have entire generations experiencing imposter syndrome. That inner, shh, don't say that, shh, sit here. No, no, someone else will handle that. Not me. Exploration is about, what do you have that you want to expand? What did you lock up that you want to let out? So that's a little chance there for you to explore. So whose exploration is the caterpillar, right? Alice comes upon the caterpillar. He's smoking his hookah up on the mushroom. And all of us know the caterpillar wasn't sober, right? And he goes, who are you? And Alice is like, I don't know. I've changed like since breakfast. I want you to start thinking about that caterpillar. Print a picture of the caterpillar saying, who are you? Where does your curiosity take you? Who are you? Are you brave? Write some words down right now on that piece of paper of who you are. You're a nurturer, you're risk avoidant, you're brave, you're uncertain, you love security. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone can't love risk and adventure. We'll all be jumping off a mountain somewhere. Some of us have to also love security and process and stability. Some of us love making a difference. Some of us love being the support system to the people that are out there making a difference. Because we're not always good at vision and detail, right? Like, I got the vision door, but I didn't get the detail door. What situations, beliefs, and thoughts need to change for you? We see that, someone said the person that wants to say more in the book, 10 Laws of Boundaries has been recommended, and I'll try and roll that up for you as well. Do you believe you're too old to go try something? Because that danced through my brain with the doctorate, right? Like, 53, now you're going to do this? Yes, I am. My husband helpfully pointed out that apparently I have a 10-year education cycle. So undergrad, 10 years, master's, and now here we are 10 years, right? What exists that you can expand? Your faith, your fitness practice, your work teams. I don't know. What will you leave behind is also a part of exploration. What is no longer serving you? My 2020 phrase was, how does this serve my work? So if I was beating myself up and saying, you're not enough, nobody wants to hear you, I would go, how is this serving your work? It's not. I'm actually asking myself to claw in a box and play small. So I found that to be a really good question. You may have another question you like better, but Linda, how is this serving you? A question I use with coaching clients is this the vision of who you want to be? Like if maybe they're getting irate or they're being belligerent or they're struggling, I might go, is this your vision? What do you want to leave behind? And I encourage you to make yourself some notes right now. Even what's very powerful is grab another sheet of paper, put on it what you'll leave behind, and then really enjoy yourself tearing it up, blotting it into a ball. If you have a fireplace, take it out there and throw it in your fireplace. Like, make a physical thing to let go of it. A dear friend of mine used a big old piece of rock, dropped onto a pillow so they didn't ruin their flooring, right? But it was that letting go of this symbolism of the weight of old habits that they wanted to let go of. I'm going to skip this one. I want you to write the question down, but don't go into Menti because I want to be sure to jump forward real quick. But how are you expanding, right? So in your column of exploration, how are you expanding purpose? How are you expanding your mind? How are you expanding the vessel? How are you expanding spirit? The last letter is challenge. I don't mean the obstacle challenge, right? I don't mean, hey, if anyone of you want to go somewhere Monday, you're going to have an obstacle of snow in your driveway if you live, up in this area. I'm talking about the challenge you want to put before. This year, I will be more authentic. This year, I will have more tough conversations. I will have the tough conversation I'm dreading within the next 10 days. That's what I mean. Challenges are interesting outfits, right? You see the challenge in front of you, and there's that shining sun ray behind it of success, of victory. So that's kind of what I look at now with challenge. I don't also look at the luggage it's carrying going, it's going to be hard. I'm like, okay, it'll be hard. What I look at the challenge as, it's a herald of impending growth. So growth hurts sometimes, right? But instead of me going, no, no, no challenge. So the queen appears here, right? Where someone says, that's impossible. And the queen goes, well, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. There's an Audrey Hepburn quote where she says, nothing is impossible. In fact, the word says, I'm possible. And people love that quote. I kind of like it, but I really dig the Queen's quote, right? Of, I'm so different now than I was 5 years ago. I opened my business. I thought I knew what it would look like. It's successful and it's different, right? I'm so different than I was 10 years ago. I'm so different than I was 15 years ago. So what are you setting before yourself this year? What is your priority? Because a lot of people got their priorities realigned in 2020, right? They realize that work is not everything, and that when they come to work starving for connection, starving for purpose, work is just one more drudgery. When you're in purpose and you know how all these pieces go together on your grid, then you find purpose in every moment. How will you be supported? Perfectionist and those of us, it's a trauma response. And I won't spend a ton of time here because I'm not a clinician, but it is a trauma response to not let people help you. If you were taught somewhere along the way that needing help was some sign of not being enough. If someone said, I can't believe you don't know that. Yeah, I just always thought you were so smart. Can really teach us to never ask for help again. Inside of the research, we know that when we ask for help, we're absolutely showing trust to the person we're asking. It might be the tiniest little thread of trust. You may have thought I didn't even like you, but I'm putting that little thread of trust out there to see what you'll do. Now, you can certainly say as a leader, hey, Linda, I believe you know that, and I want you to share with me first what you think. Because maybe I'm scared of exploring or adventuring with you. Maybe I climbed into a box and I'm not letting myself be vibrant. So you could still hold me accountable, but you don't go, you should know better. Come back when you have an answer. I won't come back. And I will learn not to put that thread of trust out there again. And then a BHAG. So, and honestly, my brain, my short-term memory just killed me. So I'm going to ask you, if you remember the book this came from, throw it in chat. If not, I will put it in the email. But I absolutely just had a short-term memory moment where it flew out of my brain. So here are some corporate BHAGs that are out there. Like Google, organize the entire world's information, right? That doesn't say we'll be the best search engine. A BHAG is big. BHAGs are 5, 10, 15 years out for you. So they're not a 2021. 2021 is all the stuff we already talked about. BHAG is 2026, 2032, 2040. What's out there for you? You know I'm going to ask you in a minute, right? Tesla's, the world transitioning to sustainable energy. So not just we'll build a cool car. So it's really important for us to always have a BHAG out there. And I'm going to ask you to be brave and throw one into Minty because no one knows, right? But your BHAG in Minty may inspire someone else's to go, wow, that's huge. Like a BHAG for me is to be location independent in 10 years so that I can still do some teaching and some webinars, and I could do it from French Polynesia. And I didn't think that was real until a friend who started her business the same time I did it last month with her children. She didn't want to wait 10 years. So she is sitting in French Polynesia right now for 90 days on the beach and still running her business. So that was a big BHAG for her. So if you're not going to put one here, right, in Minty, make sure you're writing one down if you can't think of one. So it stands for a big, hairy, audacious goal. It could be a goal you're like, I can't even tell my partner about this right now. This is so off the chain. But our brain loves it. To be a saint, that is valuable. That is a huge goal, right? And inspires purpose in your mind and how you move through the world. To be financially comfortable. And I love that. This is someone that's like, no, I don't have to have all the dollars on the planet, but I want to be financially comfortable. I don't want to be, doing my checkbook every month. Inspiring grandfather. This is our last slide. you're in a place where you should have 20 little boxes that may or may not have things in them. But the 5 forms of where our goals come from, the 4 words will give you 20 boxes to play in. When I send this out to the team, I will send you a worksheet that's prettier than the box that you grew, but I'll also add some resources for you exploring further. None of this was about a resolution. So go ahead and do me a favor and jump in Menti here. All of you are now the facilitator. I want you to give me the one phrase, if I could never read a business book, if I could never go back to college, you have to train me to be a courageous leader and human in the world. What's something you live by? It's a quote from your grandfather or your dad. I'm going to tell you, some of us have blue collar dads and grandpas, and sometimes the phrases have curse words. So do me a favor, maybe add some asterisks there. Don't be right on target. Yesterday, people were just like, boom, and said it. So one of my favorite phrases that my dad would say to me is, don't let your dump truck mouth override your hummingbird butt. And what did that mean? What he meant was be reliable and true to your word. That my dump truck mouth is like, I can do that today, right? But my hummingbird self, I don't have time or the resources. I actually need a couple of days to do it right. So that reminds me to go, I'm super excited. I want to give this full justice. I believe I can get it to you by the end of the day, Monday. Does that work for you? And you can go, nah, it's fire. I need it tomorrow. And I can go, okay. But I don't start with these big, I'll call you, we should have dinner, I'll get that to you right away, and then compromise my reputation through reliability and trust. So look at what's in the room, because y'all will get this back. We rise by lifting others. Fake it till you make it. Absolutely. I have learned to be more empathetic, but I had to learn the skills and practice. Now it's a little more natural to me. Just be you. Dr. Seuss said that, right? No one, it's truer than true. No one is you-ier than you. So y'all have done a great job today. We do have 3 minutes. So if you have a question, you can throw it in Zoom. I'm going to make it bigger. And I'd also like to hear about your takeaways from today. So you can put takeaways in the comment if you don't want your name on it. You just want it to pop up. Or you can put stuff in Zoom. So I'm going to make that chat window a little bit bigger for questions and comments. I'm loving these comments here, and you will get this list back. Tamara, you got any questions since you walked me into this and we started out? What's been on your mind during this call? Share with us.
I have to be honest that I was not anticipating to get out of this what I just did.
Yay.
And I'm hoping that everyone else felt that way. You kind of peeled back the side of the onion that I didn't necessarily want you to peel back.
I'm
and
kind
those
of
who know me know I have a very, I mean, it's a place that I fit, and that's what I want people to see. It's a persona that I try to put on as well. And so I think one of my things for 2021 is not just in trying to be kind and patient, but trying to show more of me. And they'll say, well, that's not the side of Tammy that I typically see. There's a Tamara and a Tammy. Mm-hmm. And I decide which one you get to see, and finding a more middle ground for everyone to see is where I want to get to.
And when people watch you,
that's probably more deep than anyone wanted.
No, that's when people watch you do that, then they are inspired to do it. And then we have cultures of belonging. When we keep our masks on, right? Like I could do a PowerPoint with bullet points and I could stand here and go, did you know with goal setting, you should be clear of what your intention is. That's a little different than being in Wonderland and thinking about, am I painting the rose? Am I being the Cheshire cat? Am I treating people like the caterpillar? The caterpillar was wise. So you could welcome to hang out with me on my newsletter. So once a month, if you want, it's easy. Just text curious to 66866 and you'll be on it. I'm not detail oriented enough to spam you, honestly. So I'm like a once a month and that's all I got. Okay. But does anyone else want to jump in and share a comment? Because one of the things we do to create cultures of belonging is that we don't leave someone out in the cold when they're brave. So she spoke up and shared. So one other person just unmute super quick and share with me something you took away, and you'll be the person that closes us up. And then Tamara, if you want to get ready with your goodbye little 30 seconds or whatever. I might, Jim. Jim, I'm going to pick on you since I kind of got to know you over a week and a half. What did you take away while you're also being the super genius tech dude?
Well, thank you. I took away more than I can put into words right now. I've got a lot of notes to look over
Woohoo!
and excuse me, a lot of processing to do.
Good. That was the goal. There wasn't a goal for me to go, here's an answer, have fun. It was take a deep breath from 2020 and open your heart again. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. I know we're on time. Tamara, you want to take us home?
I will. Thank you, Linda. Okay, Tammy's little shell comes back on. Professional reporter Tamara comes back in, but I just want to say thank you so much. You never cease to amaze me with what you bring to the table. Learn something every time I've sat in on your sessions, and so thank you so much for sharing what you know and allowing us to be vulnerable with you, even if it's through Menti. And I appreciate the Menti piece, as I'm sure everyone else does, because it's difficult to be real sometimes. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone who joined us today. If you liked what we did, give us a thumbs up. We're very excited, and who knows, we may actually be putting on more of these. I think that would be a really beneficial thing if we could do this on a more regular basis. So everyone, please be truly safe this weekend. It's going to be ugly out there, but we've got some homework to do and to learn how to stay better connected. Thanks, Linda.
Bye.